Hello, I'm the developer at Hushberry Games, the only one. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about the development of my latest game, One Possible Future, over a visualization of the code changes over time. Um, so you'll see a few things here. Some are probably obvious, some aren't. So like obviously the little flying people are developers touching files. Even though it's showing two people, those are actually both me, one on my laptop and one on my desktop. It can't distinguish between the two, so they're represented here as two people, but it really is just me making these games. And then, of course, the lines are directories. You can see things like model, RoboFile, which was the early working title of the game. That's going to change at some point to One Possible Future. And then all the little circles are individual files, and you can see their names pop up from time to time. Looks like I'm touching some graphics over there. Yeah, and by the way, the color of the dot, it represents the file type. So blue is images. I think white is, it doesn't really know. And then we can see purple is like a source file there. Those are all the code files. And you can get a kind of a sense of the structure. So you can see that on the right now, that tilde dev, that's just an old naming convention I came up with like, I don't know, 15 or 20 years ago, where I put any yeah, like development files, source files for images most commonly in a tilde dev folder. And the tilde is just so it goes at the top of the directory structure. So here we can see I've renamed it from, it's spinning around, renamed from RoboFile to One Possible Future. It looks like now tilde dev is on the left and all the source code is on the right. Um, this is a pretty small project, as you can see. I mean, I don't know, maybe it looks big. I've certainly worked on much bigger things, even as a solo developer. But the whole concept of One Possible Future was I wanted to make something relatively small, so as not to distract too much from other projects. For 1 year was conceived as a I'm going to work on this conceivably forever sort of thing. It's got, roguelike elements in it. Really, we should say roguelite. It is not very roguelike at all. Funny to see some of the file names flash by. I think those were some source, I don't want to say source images, but like direct exports out of a generative AI for images. Sorry, my top is going to go all over the place, just depending on what's happening on screen. So, um, yeah, I use a lot of AI to generate many of the graphics. Any UI elements you see, I've probably drawn those by hand. The people, going in order from most human involvement to least human involvement. So UI elements, fully just me drawing them. I can do that much pixel art. The character sprites, those were generated, like the poses and the shapes and the hair and everything. Those were generated with AI and then traced over to flatten the colors, so then I could do things like change facial expressions, and I do that part by hand. And then for basically pure AI output, all of the backgrounds. I do a bunch of cleanup for the background images, um, but yeah, those are pretty much taken straight. You may have noticed on the left there, one of those files had in brackets, Fireworks. So there's a couple. Fireworks is a really old program. I still have the license. I bought it back, I don't even know how long ago. It's an Adobe product. Used to be Macromedia, makers of Flash. They also made Fireworks and a bunch of stuff. Adobe bought them out forever ago, but I still have a copy of Macromedia Fireworks that I still use today. And Fireworks is really unique and cool for me in that it does a combination of vector and bitmap. Vector, I would say it's kind of vector first with some bitmap support, but it really does both. And that's great for me. I don't know, for my particular art skills, I would say are A, limited, and B, I'm really much better thinking about the shapes as vectors rather than like, I don't know, squishing and editing bitmap shapes. I don't know, it doesn't work for me, but the vector thing, great, I'm there. So I still use Fireworks, so you can see, and Fireworks saves in PNG. PNG image file format has a huge amount of space. You can put any additional metadata you want. I don't know if you ever played Spore, you may have noticed their save games are PNGs. They just fill in that extra spot with the actual save data. And so Windows or your Mac or whatever looks at that file and says, oh, it's an image. I know how to render the image part, but secretly there's a whole save game in there. Fireworks does a similar thing to save all of the layers and the vectors and everything else, the text as fonts, all that kind of source-ish content in that extra place, and then you also have the image. So I don't want to deploy all those. That blows up the image size to have all the extra data. So I don't want to put those in the final output of the game, which is what I meant when I said deploy. I do a lot of web development, so I think in terms of web sometimes. Um, but yeah, we don't want all those in the final release, all the extra data. So the image is exported to flatten it, and those would be the blue ones you see on the right. There's that must be an image directory. We can't see the path name right now. And it looks like time has frozen, so I think it's doing the last few edits before the end. I saw a cover image for Steam. So I can mouse over these. So here we can see content, graphics, backgrounds. Here's a bunch of images there. Shopping mall, clothes store, woman speaking. So I don't know if you've played the game, but you might recognize what some of these are. So this stuff you all get when you download the game, right, on Steam. Not the purple files, I guess. These would be built as a binary, but this whole content directory, the sounds, the music, what is this? A shader. These will all be included, all the images. But and then over here, I'll have corresponding, source images in Fireworks or other things, including various edits that I make along the way. So there might be multiple versions of some of these things. What are these green ones? WLMP. I honestly don't remember. Some image format. I wonder if that should be in git ignore. Honestly, it's possible that that's like a temp file that shouldn't even be in source control. But oops, there it is. Um, that's kind of it. That's all I wanted to do, just talk over this thing and maybe give you some insight into how a game like this is made. I do not remember what the start date was, but here's the last change. I am planning a small release for a couple little quality of life changes, and then that'll be it for one possible future. I would like to get back to for 1 year, doing a little more content, and also spending some time on whatever the next project will be. I spent yesterday going through a bunch of different ideas. I'm trying to find something that again, A can be kind of short, like one possible future, not take up too much time. Um, Maybe explore a different time period or setting or genre. Um, yeah, don't have anything concrete now, but if you're following me on Steam or elsewhere, I'm sure you'll find out soon enough. Well, I shouldn't say soon enough. It could be a month or so. Anyway, that is it. So thanks. Hope that was interesting. Goodbye.